Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is time for the Monster Workshop stream. I'm just getting my framing here. How is everybody doing today? Sorry that we're a little bit late getting started. I have had a time. That's pretty good. I have had a time. Oh, I hate that you can just kind of see my window. Oh, oh no. We gotta fix that. Like that? Yeah, okay. So then I should sit like here. You would think that I would understand how to do my own stream, you would think that, but you would be wrong. Welcome, everybody. I've had quite the time lately. Oh, man, what's up, everybody? Brent, you've been just dropping puns and jokes like all over the place lately. Welcome. It's so lovely to have you. Hey, Sildari, what's up? Thanks for coming, everybody. Yeah, it's been a bit of a rough week. I'm very happy to be back. I'm very happy to be streaming. I have intended to stream previous days, but I have been dealing with this really nasty bout of insomnia for the past like 6 months. I just having a difficult time sleeping, and it is really playing havoc with my schedule. Sometimes I will be up all night. Sometimes I will sleep all day, and yeah, it sucks. Thankfully, I've had like a kind of a slow period in between my games, so it hasn't been a huge issue yet. But my games are ramping up again as we get deeper into the fall, and I'm worried that it's going to be a problem, and I don't know what to do about it, and it's a problem. I am also going to commit the cardinal sin today. I might eat a little bit on stream because I just woke up from a nap I was not supposed to take that happened anyway, and I haven't eaten at all, and I'm starving. So I'm maybe going to put a little bit of food in my face. I will try to keep it, I'll try not to be too overtly disgusting. I'll keep the mic away from me while I chew. But I have like a peasant meal. I have a piece of bread and some cheese, and I'm just hungry. I gotta eat. I gotta eat food. That's not what we're here for. We're not here to watch me eat food. That's not the reason we're all here. We're here to work on the Bulette. The Bulette. Dork Lord Canada says that he's #1 with the Bulette. Get out of here. So in case you're not aware, this stream is the Monster Workshop stream where we redesign monsters in 5th edition based on my cantankerous viewpoints about how they could be more fun to run. So it is kind of the partner stream to a podcast that I do called Monster of the Week. More information up above. Check it out. It's like a very casual 15 to 20 minute to 30 minute, depending on the monster, weekly podcast. Comes out on Sundays, and it's all about thanks, buddy. It's all about monsters that we go through the monster manual one monster at a time, and we talk about what we like about them and their history and whether they're problematic or not, and sometimes they are. We talk about ways that you could use them or redesign them or improve them for your home games. And so here on this stream, what we do is we take the kind of 3 points that we made about the monster during the podcast, the 3 points of improvement, and we try to implement those changes, right? So that's kind of what we're here to do today, is to look at the Bulette. And one of the things we talk about is how on earth do you pronounce it? Because it's definitely looks like bullet, and I believe that's how it was originally pronounced back when it was made back in the like 70s, right? Based on a series of plastic toys, of which I actually had that set when I was a kid, but I hadn't played D&D. I didn't know about D&D until obviously much later in my life. And so I'd like to think of it as that I played with the Bulette before I played Dungeons & Dragons, right? I had a little tiny plastic toy of that, and the Rust Monster, and the Owl Bear, and a couple of other toys that inspired D&D monsters that were just kind of like random, I think, monster toys. Anyway, so the point being that it was never clear exactly how it was intended to be pronounced. It was really just called the Bulette, and then because of the weird way it was spelt, the sort of original grognards, Gygax and his problematic crew, started to call it the Boulet because, haha, it's fake French. But obviously it can't be the Boulet because that's not how it would be pronounced in French. My wife told me how it would be pronounced in French, and I forgot. So that's where we are now. So I've always said the Bulette, and like just done a little bit of emphasis on the end, Bulette, but I don't think there is a correct way to pronounce it because how could there be? It's not a real thing. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different, I think, because rather than having 3 bullet points to talk about with the Bulette is such a simple monster in 5th edition that it wasn't that I had 3 unique things I didn't necessarily like about it. It's that there was one overall issue that I kind of wanted to address. because there are some specifics, but those specifics are so simple they don't really have like solutions. They're just very easy fixes. So we're just going to talk about the 5th edition Bulette right now, and we're going to talk about how we could potentially improve it. So the Bulette is a large monstrosity. It's got 17 armor class, 94 hit points. It moves 40 speed above the ground and 40 speed beneath the ground. It's got high strength and high con, low charisma, low intelligence. So it's basically like a beast. It's like animal intelligence. It's got it's got perception training. It's got tremor sense, CR5. It has a standing leap ability where it can jump up to 30 feet and then 15 feet in the air with or without a running start, which is pretty impressive. And then it's got a bite attack that is a +7 to hit, and it hits for just an absurd amount of damage. 4d12 plus 4 piercing damage on the bite, which is awesome. Like that's a 5th level character right there, right? Like if you roll well, I'm running a party of 5th level players in my home game right now, and that could take out about half of them in one bite. So that's cool. And then it has a large kind of complex ability called Deadly Leap, where if the Bulette jumps at least 15 feet as part of its movement, it can then use this action to land on its feet in a space that contains one or more creatures. Basically, it jumps and it lands next to you, and then it causes a big sort of like seismic shock. Each creature has to make a strength or dexterity saving throw, which is kind of cool, actually. I don't think I noted that in the episode, but it's cool that you can choose. Or be knocked prone and takes 3d6 plus 4 bludgeoning damage and slashing damage. I think the idea is that it's like leaping with its big claws, which you can kind of see in the art here on the side. And then you're knocked prone, and you're pushed 5 feet out of the Bulette space and into an unoccupied square, but only if you succeed on it, right? And if no unoccupied space is within range, the creature instead falls prone in the Bulette space. So it's a big, complicated ability that, like, I like the intention of, but I don't really like it. I don't see it in my head. It feels weird. It feels very like Pokemon, kind of, where it's like, it jumps in, it's like, "Rah, I'm the Bulette." Sorry, I'm chewing. My understanding of this monster is that it's supposed to be like a land shark, right? That it's underground and it like bites you like a tremor and then continues saying, like, it coming out of the ground feels kind of antithetical to me. Like maybe a little bit, maybe like, quickly, but there's no sense of like momentum here. Basically, my complaint is that the Bulette as a CR5 solo monster does not currently work. It's not necessarily designed to be a solo monster, but I struggle to think of an encounter where it wouldn't be, right? Like, they're solitary hunters. They don't have like any other sort of companion creatures, or they're not really associated with any other monsters in the game, right? They're kind of implied to be these like big sharks. Maybe you could do them as like a pod of Bulettes, but considering how sort of tough they are, like especially looking at that bite, that the CR would like wildly swing, right, if you add 2 Bulettes in there into one encounter. But as a solo monster, the action economy here is like completely messed up, especially if you consider like how they're mechanically designed to work here. That like, yeah, they can burrow under you, and then they burst out, and they presumably do a deadly leap power, right? So it's like a big, cool AoE explosion. That's kind of fun. Then it lands, right? And then on its next turn, it uses bite, presumably. And if it hits, like, okay, serious damage. But if it misses, it basically then gets surrounded by the rest of the party and then just, like, beaten like the copy machine in Office Space, right? Like, they just kind of go to town on it. And it can burrow, I guess, but it can't escape easily, not without provoking a bunch of opportunity attacks. You know what I mean? Like, it feels very, like, this one-hit go. Like, it leaps out of the ground and it does this. My other problem with it is that if you are going to keep it at CR5... Hey, what's up, David? Ooh, Earth Elemental Cultists riding them. That's pretty cool. That I think could work. If you wanted to do, like, a Bulette with other creatures and you have a good way to do it. The terror of the Bulette to me, that you're essentially doing with a shark. Yeah, where there shouldn't be a shark. I completely agree, Dork Lord Canada. Exactly. Right? Is that it's like... I think it should function... It's a land shark. Hey, Shadowrunner, what's up? It should function a lot more like a shark. In the way that, like, we think about shark attacks which obviously are fictitious, and sharks are not really dangerous to people. It's very, very rare that it happens. We are actually very, very dangerous to sharks. A lot of sharks are going extinct because we won't stop hunting them. But if you're thinking about the fiction of like the shark attack, like Jaws or whatever, right? Or I mean, Tremors is another great example of like what's essentially sort of a shark movie. That like the conceit is that the ground that you're standing on is unsafe. That this creature has dominion over the earth that you're standing on, and that like it's not safe to be here. That this thing can get underneath you, it can bite you, it can do whatever, right? The point is that like as a CR5 monster, it really doesn't pull this. It leaping out of the ground and then landing there and fighting you with one bite attack per round really doesn't play into that fantasy at all. Right? It seems like it's this other thing. Listen, if you want to do the Bulette as a mount for Earth Elemental cultists, that's pretty cool. And like a good other way around it. Like, again, the thing with these streams is I don't actually think that the monsters are usually like bad. Every once in a while you get a bit of a stinker, but like the Bulette here functions. Like this is an interesting monster and you can run it this way and there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I unfortunately was raised, well not raised, but I unfortunately cut my teeth, most of my DMing teeth on a previous edition of the game, a somewhat divisive edition of the game called 4th edition. And in 4th edition, they put a real emphasis on tactical combat. And they really like overhauled a lot of the monsters to make them be able to do incredible things. And now when I look at a 5th edition monster, I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me. There are a lot of reasons I don't play this anymore. This is far from a perfect system, but one of the best things that it did is kind of go back to the drawing board on how exciting a monster encounter could be, right? I feel like 5th edition takes a much more 3rd edition stance by saying that like, hey, this monster usually just kind of is a bag of hit points with some basic attacks. 4th edition in a lot of ways went too far in that wargaming direction, but once it kind of Shadowrunner's on to me exactly. Once it kind of opened the floodgates to how you could design monsters, I can't really go back. You know, it's too cool, it's too dynamic, it's too kind of ever changing that I just want more of that in my 5th edition. So that's what we're gonna do today. We are gonna redesign the Bulette in order to make it. We can either keep it as a CR5, which I think is okay, but the issue is that it's like, it's so, like, the Bulette and the Ankheg are, like, relatively close to each other in CR. You know what I mean? 4E Action Economy was a bit different as well. But I still don't think that, like, it holds up. Legendary actions exist in 5th edition to try to address this, but legendary monsters are so few and far between. And I mean, even if you look at like the dragon in 5th edition, those legendary actions are kind of shit. You know what I mean? It's like detag. It's like make a perception check. The dragon can make a perception check as a legendary action. Like, how in the hell is that going to help the action economy at all? So I think we need more monsters that, if they're going to be presented essentially as solo monsters, unless they have Earth Elemental cultists riding them, which is awesome, that need to be able to compete. That doesn't mean we're going to give the Bulette legendary actions. We're just going to change the way the Bulette fights to make it more dynamic and to play more into the sort of land shark fantasy. Great. So let's go through my proposed changes. Shadow has kind of already zeroed in on one of them. My first suggestion would be to give the Bulette the ability to knock creatures prone when it burrows beneath them, right? This is something that I believe is in 4th edition. I'm actually going to open up the 4th edition Bulette. I have 2 books here. I have the Monster Manual from 4E, which is like a little underpowered usually, and then I have the Monster Vault, which was kind of one of the last products that they made. And this has a lot scarier powers. Shadowrunner says Wingbeat, Tail Attack. Pfft. Yeah, I mean, I had to redesign all of the chromatic dragons for 5th edition because I felt like they were underwhelming. Dorklord Canada says, what if you played the Bulette less like a shark and more like an alligator? Ooh, a death roll. I kind of like a death roll. That's neat. Alligator's a good call, too. Yeah, to give it a little bit of distinction. Ah, we might do the death roll. I like that. Okay. So let's look at the Bulette here in 4th edition before we go any further. Oh, man. I haven't looked at any of this art in forever. Oh, my gosh. You guys. Oh, boy. Look at the beholder in here. Crazy. There's stuff where it's like level 19 solo artillery. Oh, I haven't thought about 4th edition in forever. Okay, here we go, the Bulette. A level 9, so here this is basically a CR9 monster, which is like more where I would want to put it. It's an elite skirmisher, if that means anything. It's got essentially a 30-foot burrow speed. This is, yeah, elite monster is kind of like a solo 0.5 monster, right? This is a monster that, like, isn't quite a solo, but it's meant to be more of a challenge than just your average everyday monster. It essentially represents 2 PCs. That's one of the other great things about 4th edition is the way that they did their monster design is that one monster was roughly equivalent to one character. So, like, 4 first-level characters could fight 4, like, level 1 monsters. They just, like, they removed the mystery of CR that was in 3rd edition and made it very clear as to how monsters were designed, and that was, like, a huge eye-opener for me as a young dungeon master. But then they went back to it, bafflingly, in 5th edition, and I see so many new DMs be like, I don't understand CR. I don't get how it works. Why is it so weird? I'm like, neither do I. Anyway, so it's got a bite attack, and it says, before it bites, the Bulette can make a standing long jump as a free action without provoking opportunity attacks. Already great. It hits, it deals 2d6 damage or 4d6 damage against a prone target. I think that's key right there. It's got something called Rising Burst. If I haven't complained about 4th edition, I have a lot, but one of them is that I don't like a lot of their power names. Rising Burst is kind of, well, a little sexual. Rising Burst is a close burst 2, which means like a 10-foot radius from the Bulette. It sprays rock and dirt into the air when it rises out of the ground. That's cool. So whenever it surfaces, it shoots out, and it's like 1d6 plus 7 damage. That's cool. Now, this is the one I was interested in, Earth Furrow. The Bulette moves up to its burrow speed just below the surface of the ground, avoiding opportunity attacks as it passes underneath other creatures' squares. As it burrows beneath the space of a medium or smaller creature on the ground, the Bulette makes an attack against the creature, plus 8 versus Fortitude, because it used to have defenses in 4th edition, and on a hit, the target is knocked prone. This, to me, is key, and that's our first thing. Give the Bulette the ability to knock prone when it burrows beneath someone. I think whenever this thing is moving around, it isn't even just that it's, like, directly underneath you. I think the Bulette should be like a living earthquake. Like, this thing is constantly trembling the earth. Think about this. Think about the idea of a monster the size of a rhinoceros, right? Like a humongous beast. This thing can, like, eat a horse in its mouth, right? And it's traveling under the ground. Imagine the displacement that would occur as it's carving its way through the soil, right? It's going to constantly be, like, shaking the earth. It should be always knocking you prone, right? I think, like, whenever it moves, every creature within 30 feet of it, whenever it burrows, you have to make a saving throw or fall prone, right? Great. It's got a ground eruption power. The squares into which the Bulette surfaces and the squares it leaves when it burrows become difficult terrain. Awesome. Hard to measure in 5th, though. We don't really do a lot of, like, square stuff. And then it's got a second wind power. It can regain some hit points, which is kind of meh. There's the Dire Bulette, which actually seems to be the same monster. It just deals more damage and has more hit points and stuff. So, okay, cool. That's the Bulette in 4th edition as it's originally presented. I'm going to look at the Monster Bulette, because basically what happened in 4, if I remember correctly, is that, like, as the system went on, the power creep got worse and worse. And so they had to kind of, like, go back to square one and redesign the monsters to be even more threatening because the player characters were just chewing through them. So this is the souped up Bulette. There's 3 Bulettes in here. The young Bulette, the Bulette, and then the Dire Bulette. So the young Bulette has ground eruption, which we talked about. It's got a bite. This is a CR7 monster. It's got a bite that just deals 1d10 plus 4 damage. It's got submerge in earth. It has to be above ground, and then it can, like, shift 1 square, make a 5-foot adjustment, and then burrow up to its burrow speed as an action. Okay? And then snapping jaws. This is a requirement. The Bulette must be underground. It recharges whenever it submerges again, so kind of complex. But the effect is that it burrows up to its burrow speed to a square above ground. This movement does not provoke opportunity attacks. When it first enters a square above ground during this turn, it makes an attack where it leaps up, and then it's like 4d10. So yeah, I kind of think that's what we're looking for here, right? We're looking for burrowing underground, like submerging, biting, maybe even like pulling them back down again, right? If you want that shark thing. Or as Brent Dorklord suggests, doing like a roll, you know? That's the young Bulette. The Bulette itself CR9, it's basically the same. It's got a leaping bite, where as an action it can jump up to 5 squares and then use bite. It does not provoke opportunity attacks, and it's also got an underground rising burst thing. So, but that does like a close burst too, so it's like a radius effect. And then the Dire Bulette seems like it's the same. It's just more damage. Yeah, okay. Cool, so that's 4th edition, and that's kind of the direction I want to head. I don't know if I want to get that technical with it, because I think one of the advantages of 5th edition over 4th edition is the, like, emphasis on theater of the mind, right? That, like, in 4th edition, you really kind of needed a battle mat all the time, which got to be kind of, you know, onerous after a while. I mean, honestly, what's funny is that, like, it would work a lot better now in 5th edition, where people had access to Roll20 and stuff. It feels like if the two editions were switched, it would work better. But it's just not the way the cookie crumbled. So let's go through our solutions here. Solution 1, give the Bulette the ability to knock prone when it burrows underneath. Love that. Solution 2, reduce the damage on the bite attack and then add a swallow. So I like the bite. I just think that right now that's where so much of its power is coming from, right? I'm so sorry that I'm eating. I'm starving. Otherwise, you'd be hearing my stomach like on the stream. But yeah, I would pull the damage back on the bite attack and instead add a swallow. We could do what Dork Lord suggests and do a death roll, which is kind of fun. I do like suffocation powers, because suffocation, I feel like it comes up a lot in my games, and it's kind of become this joke about, like, I'm a dungeon master who likes choking. Which out of context is, well, it's quite the statement. But I could see a death roll. I'm curious as to, like, how you would do that. Ironically, I think that 4th edition's Crocodile had a death roll style power, so I'm going to look at that really quick. And then lastly, this is kind of what Shadowrunner was talking about. We're going to redesign the deadly leap to leap, bite, swallow, and then burrow again. So it could just be a grab instead of a swallow. I do like a swallow on a Bulette. Because again, it feels very shark. The sound of Yogg trying to escape. Oh, Shadowrunner says the CR doesn't calculate for leveled characters of certain classes. Wizards can be devastating even at mid levels. Yeah, this is what I mean, right? CR is weird, and I don't like it. That doesn't mean that 4th edition's leveling was perfect, but it was, at least from a design standpoint for a dungeon master, a lot easier to get in the target demo. Like right now, a lot of times when I throw an encounter at a party, I just have no idea. Like, I threw a reflamered Remoraz at my 5th level party the other day, and they had a couple of NPCs, but they were, like, not particularly great NPCs with them, and they smoked it. Like, they took some damage, which was cool and gratifying, but they dispensed that creature that was twice their CR without too much difficulty. You know what I mean? So this is what I'm saying, where it's like, sometimes an encounter can seem... And this has been true of all D&D, but I think it's especially swingy in 5th edition. There are certain monsters that punch way above or way below their weight class. I was looking at the Crocodile, not the Bulette. Crocodile. Because the Crocodile here has a... Oh, yeah, it just has it... It's just like if it bites you, then you stay bitten. I think it's just like... I think I had always, when I ran the Crocodile, the Vice Jaw Crocodile, 4th edition, I always did the ability called Clamping Jaws, or when it bites you and it's an action, if it starts with you grab, then it makes an attack against the grabbed creature, and it's extra damage. So the idea is that I would always do that just as like a death roll. Yeah, a balanced CR encounter in 5e is basically the party fighting another party. That was true in 4th edition too, right? It's like 4 creatures would fight 4 PCs. So I'm trying to decide, how would the death roll work mechanically if we do it? So it's like it bites you and it holds you. Remataz. It can, yeah, it can. And I used, I think, the base block of the Remoraz, and I didn't have a swallow. I gave it a breath weapon, so it was a little different for sure. But like just in terms of like hit points and attack bonus and damage, they were just able to hack their way through. And like half of the damage that the party took was a like an aura that I gave the Frost Worm, where it had like a cold aura, where whenever you hit it with an attack, you took cold damage. So it bites you. I'm trying to think of how this would work. It bites you, and then it. All right, let's do some brainstorming. So I figure out where to put my microphone here. There we go. Okay. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Okay, the microphone's a little farther away than it would normally be. Brainstorm. So I like the death roll idea. I'm trying to think like how it would be different from just grabbing you. Because I guess swallowing is so permanent. Swallowing is like, if it swallows you, then chances are very good that you're in there the whole time, right? Death roll. The bulette bites you and then grabs you. Once grabbed. Maybe it's a thing where like if it goes underground, you can no longer breathe. You begin to suffocate. Maybe it's just something as simple as that. Like, ooh, it could be a thing where it's less of a death roll in the sense of like a crocodile rolling, because like death rolls are stationary. You know, when a crocodile bites you, like they're cool, but like the Bulette's thing, I think should be like mobility. They should be constantly moving around all the time. So what if it's a thing where like it, rather than swallowing you completely, it grabs you and then it drags you under, and you're like in its mouth getting like bashed around underground, right? It's like dragging you like a dog with a rat or something. It's not that it completely engulfs you and then rolls. It's that it grabs you and then it drags you through the earth wherever it goes. So you take damage as it moves, right? I think that's kind of cool. Chance of getting knocked out. Yeah, I thought about that, but I feel like suffocation is so deadly in 5th edition, which I like, but I feel like I constantly am putting suffocation effects. Like, we're about to do an episode, spoiler alert, of Monster of the Week on the gelatinous cube with a special guest, and one thing everyone kind of forgets about the cube is that it suffocates you, right? You can't breathe. And so it's that question of when you go into a cube, did you hold your breath beforehand? Because if you did, you have several rounds. You have like several minutes if your con mod is okay. But if you don't, then you only have a couple of rounds, and then you drop to 0 hit points is how suffocation works, right? I think damage for distance is right, Nuker Wolf. I think like the further that it goes, the more damage you take while you're grabbed. What if it could be like a swims around the party. It makes a whirlpool out of sand. That's cool. Yeah, that's a very like Zelda boss fight encounter, you know? Like you're in a big sand room and then there's this like giant worm thing that swims around. That's cool. So how about instead, I like the death roll. Once grabbed, it goes underground. You take damage dependent on how far the bulette moves. So I think saying like 1d6 per 5 feet is too much. Let's go 1d4 per 5 feet. So each round at maximum you can take d4 or 4d4 damage in the bullette's mouth. Yeah, exactly, David. Yep, that's precisely what I was thinking. Yeah, very good. I wasn't thinking of spike growth, but that's a great way to think of it. We can even probably look at spike growth for wording on that, because I always try to look at again, I think one of the things I think is an interesting part about this game is that, like, and I think Magic has this too, another Wizards property, is that, like, there is this, like, this like Strunken White, like, tone that you have to strike when you're writing monster text, right? Like, how do you convey rules text in the most concise way while also kind of covering your bases type stuff? So I like that for death roll, that it grabs you and it drags you around underground, unless it dashes. That's true. And then I mean, what was that, 8d4? Woof, that's pretty nasty. What's 8d4? 16 average damage? Yeah, mean. That's mean. That's just free damage. So how do you escape that? Hey, what's up, Grant? Thanks for coming. How do you escape that, do you think? Like, because if you're underground and in its mouth, can you escape it? I mean, you have to be able to, right? Because otherwise the bulette could just grab you and drag you away. So if you escape it and you're in its mouth and it's burrowing, this is why swallow honestly kind of makes more sense. I don't like it as much as death roll. I think we should keep death roll, but like, with swallow, if you get eaten, then you're just eaten. and you're just going around with the Bulette, and there's no chance. I guess you could cut yourself free, right? Maybe there's a thing where like if they escape the grab, the Bulette stops moving, right? Like it can't. But I guess the tunnel, right? It could just burrow around you. A second jaw in the throat that does damage. Oh. Oh no, like a xenomorph. Oh god. I think with the damage from the death from the dragging, that's already so much. Definitely you could do opposed athletics, acrobatics, like grapple for sure. That's not necessarily the issue, but it's like what happens to the Bulette? Like if I'm underground, and what happens to me if the Bulette's underground, right? And then I escape its jaws. Am I just underground now? How do I get out? Right? Like, did the Bulette make a tunnel? Am I just trapped underground? Can I dig out? You know, how deep? What if the Bulette is like 10 feet below the surface? You know, these are the questions I have about that. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and like, I think it's Dork Lord says, an editor who's used WotC's style guide can confirm they have guidelines. Well, they totally do, right? And you can see some of that, like the wording. So whenever I'm homebrewing, I always like to try to pull from language that WotC has used, because I feel like somebody, you know, editors, much like Dork Lord, have looked over that already. For my own stuff, I don't care. Like, I will write these like extremely quick, brutal, like would never pass muster monster abilities because I'm the only one who's ever going to look at it. But when I'm making stuff for content, like I like to try to use the language of 5th edition. I start near the surface hoping to grab another. Yeah, I wonder if we just say that like the Bulette is only ever 5 feet below the surface. So like if you escape the grapple, then you are 5 feet underground. Yeah, it just begs the question of like, how do you get out, right? I think we can figure it out. It's like athletics, acrobatics to escape. Yeah, we talked about that, Grant. I like if you're half hanging out, you might keep it being able to go fully underground. I like that. I think that's what it is. Is that like we just imply that the Bulette doesn't go that deep. On escape, you are, because I think that the egghead has some text about a tunnel. Look at all these people. What a great chat we're having here today. Thanks for coming, everybody. I had to miss a stream earlier in the week, and I was a little bummed because I felt like nobody noticed. But then somebody did. Someone was like, "Hey, did the stream get canceled?" And I was like, "Oh, hey, thanks for caring." Oh, it actually doesn't say here. I could have sworn that there's a monster that says that it leaves a tunnel. Is it the purple worm? Or the Umber Hulk? Somebody's got language about that. I know they do. I'm gonna find it, goddamn. Here it is, yes, the tunneler. The Umber Hulk can burrow through solid rock at half its burrowing speed and leaves a 10-foot wide, 8-foot high tunnel in its wake. So that's what we do. We pull the tunneler feature. Yep. And that way we can, I just need there to be some kind of an explanation as to like, where are you when you escape that, if it's underground. Tunneler feature. I do shorthand hoping I'll remember what I mean for an ability. Most of the time I can't remember what I was trying to say. Lovely. Yeah, that sounds like me too. Yeah, that was what happened, dude. I because of my weird insomnia, I slept through it. I just slept through the stream, and I felt like an absolute asshole. But yeah, it just never happened, and I felt dumb. And yep, that was me. That was my fault, and I was embarrassed. And now you're finding out about it now because I've been horribly. I've been dealing with this insomnia thing where I can't ever sleep when I try to sleep. I always sleep at weird, inopportune times. So that was on me. I apologize. But we're back here now. I might end up doing those streams later because I have a bunch of monsters I still need to do. Like we never did the never did Blights, and there's a couple of like way back from the A monsters. Like we never did an Azure stream or a bunch of monsters like that. So when we're almost done with B for the podcast, we have the Bullywug left to do. And at some point, the Bugbear, but I have this Goblin episode that I have with a guest that we've been struggling to schedule. And I want to do Goblins before I do Bugbears. Point being that like once we do B, I'm going to take a hiatus from the podcast for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, while I get C ready. And during that time, we might go back and fill in missing streams. So we'll do the blights, and we'll maybe go back into the A's and do a few of those that we never got a chance to redesign. If you aren't aware and you're not a patron, check out our Patreon, because that's where all these monsters eventually end up. You can get versions of the new monsters for only $1 a month. You can get them, and if you are a $5 patron, you can get access to all of the previous stuff in a feature we call the Trove, which is a big pile of content, everything I've made for Patreon over the past like 3 years. Great. So it has definitely, we want to add a tunneler feature. That's cool. I like the idea of reforming. So we're losing Swallow, but I think we're gonna reduce the bite attack, or reduce bite damage to allow for the death roll damage. You know, because 4d12 is pretty severe. I think we could even go to 2d12, which is still pretty chunky, and then give it the thing where it can grab you. Reduce bite damage to allow for death roll damage, and then redesign Deadly Leap. Oh, we wanted to add oh god, what is it called in Earth Furrow? Whenever the Bulette moves or burrows, all creatures. Timothy's Tome of Terrors. Yeah, totally. I think I'm calling it the Monstrous Manual right now, but Tome of Terrors is pretty cool. That's cool, dude. All creatures within 10 feet. Oh, come on. I'm being weird. Let's go. All creatures within 10 feet of the Bulette must make a strength saving throw or fall prone. Can you guys still see that? Have I scooted it too far down? Yes, I have. Yeah. Somebody, if that happens, just let me know, and I'm happy to move it. I can never tell what is visible and what is not. Can you see that? Yeah, perfect. Okay. No worries, everybody. Just let me know. Okay, cool. And then what else do we have? Oh, we're going to redesign Deadly Leap. So part of the action economy here is that, like, I thought about giving it multi-attack and giving it claws, and I don't think that that's bad, just in case it ends up in a situation where it can't burrow back down. Maybe we do a thing where, like, because I like the idea that, like, you could maybe get it exposed, right? It could leap up and then land. You know what I mean? And then it gets, I like the idea, like, it's contingent on the bite attack. Like, if it leaps out of the air and it bites you, then it is able to, like, dive back into the earth. But if it misses, then it just lands there and has to be there for a round, and then it has to burrow back down again. So I like the idea that it is possible to catch it like that. I'm trying to think of the action here, because the problem with it burrowing, leaping, biting, and dragging you under all in one round is that, like, you're gonna end up with that ready to action thing where the party is just gonna stand around, like, all ready to shoot it, and then the minute it leaps out, they're all gonna fire at once, right? Which, like, is fine, but it doesn't really solve your action economy problem, because it's not really, like, it's still taking all of the attacks at once. So, like, I'm wondering if it's a thing where, you know, it can, like, but I guess at that point, if it's grabbed somebody, like, I don't hate the idea that there's, like, a moment in the Bulette fight when it is exposed, but I'm trying to figure out what that is. My thinking is that if it gets the bite, if it bites you, then it can dive back down immediately. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's like, if it jumps out and it misses you with the bite, then it can just splash back into the water, right? Splash back into the earth, and it's gone. If it leaps out and it bites you, then it has to land, because it has to, like, kind of figure you out in its mouth, and then next round it can burrow again. That's kind of what I think. So if the Bulette jumps, I think we designed this kind of like a trample, right? Or a pounce. If the Bulette burrows up to its speed, it can leap out of the earth and make a bite attack against one target. If it hits, you know, the target is grabbed or whatever. And I think you can do the earth burst thing, like when it explodes, when it leaps, or when it surfaces, everyone has to make a save, right? To make a save or be knocked prone and take some bludgeoning damage as it bursts out, right? If it hits with a bite, the target is grabbed. If it misses, the bullet can immediately move half its speed under the earth without, well, moves up to half its speed. Let's do this. It can immediately finish the move. Because, like, what prevents it from just doing that anyway, right? Like, there's nothing in the 5th edition rules that says it can't do that. There's no rule that says a Bulette can't play basketball. But you know what I mean? Like, that's how movement works in 5th edition. So, like, what power is that really granting it? Does it, like, not provoke opportunity attacks if it misses? I kind of like that, yeah. The Bulette, if it misses, the Bulette can burrow the remainder of its speed without provoking opportunity attacks. So it's like it leaps out, snaps at you, and then goes back down. So that's kind of how it fights the... I mean, it doesn't fight the ready to action thing, but at least it gives it some kind of a sense of, you know, and hopefully it has... Well, you know what? Actually, I know we've gone back and forth 5 times on this, but like, actually, I think if the burst is that it throws you and it knocks you prone, right? Like it bites a target. I think it has a preference for prone targets, right? If it bites a target, then when it bursts out, I think it throws everybody else. So then you can't really like get an opportunity attack on it anyway, right? It's kind of like the dragon's like wing beat, where it's like it throws you and you go flying, right? And then it can burrow at its leisure because you've been thrown away. So even if it doesn't not provoke opportunity attacks, you're 10 feet away from it, so you can't make a melee opportunity attack against it anyway. That's how it does it, as opposed to just arbitrarily saying it doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. I kind of think that's the answer, because then there's still a chance, like if you succeed on that saving throw, that you aren't thrown and you do get to make an opportunity attack against it. Yeah, I think that's cool. Okay, but yes, Flyby does work on certain birds, and I think that's a fine way to do it, but I think in this case, because it's already throwing them, it's like also saying it doesn't provoke opportunity attacks feels kind of, you know, like overkill. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Blocking it from burrowing with things like a horizontal wall of force. Yeah, that's cool. I like that too. Yeah. Horizontal wall of force. Yeah, like bonk, you know, that's fun. Okay, cool. So let's see. Let's go over here to everyone's favorite monster stat block designing website, TetraCube. A big thanks to TetraCube. They're not like a sponsor or anything, but I use their site all the time for my monster stat blocks, and yeah, they look great, and it's super easy to use. And check them out and give them a little support on Ko-fi. I certainly do. Okay, here we go. So this is the Bulette as it currently appears. What do we think about the CR? Do we want to try to keep it at 5, or do we want to try to like beef it up a little bit? My instinct is to beef it, because at 5, it is so close to the Enkeg that it feels kind of like, I don't know. It feels like they're both kind of in the same milieu, you know? Like, I want to push it to like 7 or 10, but that would mean a bigger overhaul on its like attacks and stuff. What do you guys think? I'll start writing the stuff. You guys weigh in on the CR question. Do you think it should stay a CR5, or do you think it should we should move it up in its CR? So let's see. I'm gonna look at. We'll put Tunneler in first, because that's pretty simple. I'm gonna take Shadowrunner's Point, and I don't think it can burrow through solid rock. I think we're gonna keep it on Earth. So let me look at, is Tunneler one of the presets? Probably it's not. Probably it is. Oh, it is. Hey. Okay, that's 1 vote for upping the CR. How does everybody else feel? Beef it up. Beef. Because again, and that's the other thing too, is that we could say this is like the dire Bulette. You know, that's why it's scarier. The Bulette can burrow through solid rock, and half its can burrow through loose earth. 7 or 9, yeah. Let's maybe split the difference and say 8. Can burrow through loose earth at half its burrow speed and leaves a... Boy, how wide would the 10-foot diameter... 5-foot diameter? We'll say 8-foot diameter tunnel. Greater Bulette, or Bulette Queen, yeah. I think we should go with dire Bulette because that's kind of how it's done in other versions. 8-foot diameter tunnel in its wake. Okay, cool. Let's use the preset. Yeah, or add ability. The Bulette. Now, I did rail against Standing Leap in the podcast because I do feel like it's a pointless ability. Like, I don't know anyone on Earth who cares about jump distance for monsters. Like, I mean, they exist. I'm not saying they're not out there, but like, who in the moment of like running an encounter is like, well, exactly how high can I... Who cares? It jumps in a cool way. Great. And then let's say, what are we at next? Excuse me for my horrible belch. Let's look at Earth Furrow. So I'm trying to figure out how do we word this ability in 5th edition. I think it's like, whenever the Bulette burrows, Earth Furrow. Whenever the Bulette burrows, all creatures within 10 feet must make a DC. Okay, so yeah, let's figure out the CR actually. Let's go to 8. I think 8 is good. If it's a CR8 monster, then we have to find another CR8 monstrosity to kind of like figure out how many hit points it should have, or another CR8 monster just in general. So now, because I don't have my thing open that has monsters listed by CR, I have to just kind of flip through until I find something. Not a hag, not a helmed horror, not a hippogriff certainly, not a hook horror. Hydra's 8, perfect. Okay, so a Hydra has is huge sized. So I think we can increase the size of this guy if this is the dire Bulette. Dire Bulette. It's huge sized. In which case, I think the Hydra has 15. Yeah, I love jump ability. There's nothing wrong with it having a cool jump. I just feel like I don't care how far it can jump. Like it's just going to jump as far as it needs to jump. If we give it 15 d12 hit points, then it's got exactly the same number of hit points as the Hydra, which I think is appropriate. We're gonna take another page out of the Hydra's book. We're gonna buff its strength to 20. We're gonna buff its we'll keep its dex at 11. I think that's fine. Constitution I think is fine. Intelligence is fine. Yeah, they're actually pretty similar mechanically. We're gonna keep the burrow speed where it's at. I think that's all okay. I actually, guys, I'm gonna reduce its land speed. I don't understand why it's as fast above ground as it is underground. 40 feet, like as fast as like a horse, is too fast for like this thing. I kind of want its land speed to be like 20 feet. That it's like very like gush, gush, gush on Earth, but then underground it's like way faster. I kind of think that's cool. Because it shouldn't be walking around on the surface. You know what I mean? It just shouldn't be. Yeah, DC based on strength mod. That's good to know. I think all the rest of its skills and everything are fine. Yeah, okay. So it's CR8 now. That's fine. And now let's go to... so what would the DC here be? It would be 8 plus proficiency bonus, which is 3, plus strength mod, which is 5. So 8 plus 3 is 11, so it'd be DC 16. Woof. Strength saving throw. Yeah. I don't understand. Yeah, 40 feet move speed is crazy fast for this thing. If you like look at it, it's heinous. It's DC 16, strength saving throw. Must make a DC 16 strength saving throw, or fall prone, or be knocked prone. I think that's how you do it now. Be knocked prone. Although it feels like it should be fall prone, right? Yeah, what is the language now? I think it's be knocked prone, but fall prone Oh, because I think fall prone is like voluntary. You can choose to fall prone, but if a monster does it to you, then you are knocked prone. I think that's the difference. Yeah, okay. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but so there's Earth Furrow. Yeah, like a croc. That's exactly right. Oh yeah, I love that. Like thinking of it as a crocodile is a really good hit because I think you can do that cool like sideways walk that crocodiles do, right? Yeah. Okay, so then let's go abilities Earth Furrow. Earth Furrow. For some reason, Earth Furrow has the same. It scans with Crossfire in my head. Crossfire. That was heinous. Earth Furrow, Standing Leap, Tunneler. I think that's it for abilities. I debated giving it something where it deals extra damage to prone targets, but I think having advantage against prone targets is already bad enough. So I actually want to give it a multi-attack, I think, because I like the idea of it. It has those humongous claws, and if it can burrow that fast, you have to assume it's got big, like, badger-like, nasty claws, right? So I like the idea of it having a claw attack. But I think the implication being it only uses it, like, at the uttermost end of need. Yeah, Armadillo, Snapping Turtle, Fusion by a Mad Scientist, yeah. Which I think is it's one of those things Dungeons and Dragons is obsessed with, where like they have to explain like where does every monster come from, and it's like, man, listen, I'm okay not knowing that like the world can just have this monster. I don't need to. It doesn't always have to be a wizard. You know what I mean? It doesn't always have to be a wizard. So I like the idea of giving it multi-attack because if we do have a thing where it bursts out of the ground. Oh, no, actually, it doesn't necessarily need that. Because if it bites you, it takes you under. If it bites you, it stands there, right? No, let's do it. Let's go multi-attack, because... the Bulette. 2 attacks. 1 with its bite, and 1 with its claws. Add action. Ooh, actually, I think Deadly Leap would then go under abilities, because I think that's the way Pounce is done, right? Let's look at Pounce, because that's kind of what we're doing as the basis for our new Deadly Leap. Is a Pounce? Saber-tooth tiger. Here we go. Open right to it. A wizard, a demon, a trickster. Yeah, like a god. Yeah, exactly. It's always this stuff. It's like, I don't care. Like, if, you know, the owlbear or something where it's like especially weird, like, fine. But, you know, like, I'm okay with the world just having bullets and hook horrors in it. It's a weird, like, monster world. Like, that's fine. I don't need an explanation. And the explanations are never interesting. It never tells you anything. It's like, one random mad scientist did this, right? Okay, so Deadly Leap. How do we phrase this? If the Bulette, yeah. I'm gonna badger in a Sherman tank. Oh boy. It's finally time to sit down. And actually, they make a big point about like how they're young or never seen or something. In 2nd edition, I think the implication is that like when they grow up, I think they're hatched from eggs and then like they mature extremely fast in like days. So that's why you never see a young one. It's like, what is this? Who is this for? Who wants this content? Burrows at least 20 feet straight toward a creature. It can leap out of the earth and makes a bite attack. Makes a bite attack. Towards a creature and surfaces to make a bite attack against it. Boy, how do they phrase this? All creatures within 10 feet, 5 feet? Let's do 10 feet. It's huge. 10 feet of the target must make a DC 16 strength or dexterity saving throw. Keep it that way, right? Target's choice. Or be pushed. No, it's got to be within 5 feet of the target, right? Yeah, within 5 feet of the target. Or be pushed 10 feet. Or take, yeah. Or take 3d6 plus 5, 3d6 plus 5 damage. Bludgeoning damage. Be pushed 10 feet and knocked prone. So what's 3d6? 15. Take 15 bludgeoning damage. Be pushed 10 feet and knocked prone. On a successful save, the creature takes only half damage. Is pushed 5 feet. Actually, no, let's do this. It takes only half damage, isn't pushed. Takes only half damage and is knocked prone. Yeah, and is knocked prone. So even on a success, you still fall over. Because how could you not? No, we'll do it takes only half damage and is pushed 5 feet. 5 feet. If the Bulette misses with the bite attack, it can... Yeah, if the Bulette hits with the bite attack, it stops its movement for the turn. If the Bulette hits with the bite attack, it stops its movement for the turn. Until the end of its turn. And it stops, it cannot move again. Yeah, it cannot move again. It cannot move again until the beginning of its next, or until its next turn. That it's like, it cannot continue to burrow, yeah. Ooh, the ground isn't there anymore? Yeah, that's pretty cool. But the question is like, is it coming out of the ground or is it like leaping out, right? That's the issue. Okay, cool. So then that we're gonna put here under ability, and then we're gonna kill this one. So then it kind of ends up looking like that. Okay. So the bite, we wanted to reduce the damage, and we wanted to add a grapple effect. So the attack now would be +8, I believe. So it's tricky because we are reducing the damage because we want to grab, but I also think because we've increased the CR, we can maybe not reduce the damage on the bite as much. So let's maybe go to 3d12 plus 5. So then that's going to be what? That's going to be, 5.5 times 3 is 15, plus 5 is 20. 20 damage. Or 21 damage, technically. 20 piercing damage. And the target is grappled. Escape DC 16. I might arbitrarily increase that to 18. I think it should be very hard to get out of the mouth of the Bulette, right? Although you are getting dragged around taking damage, let's keep it at 16. The creature, while grabbing a creature, while it has a creature grappled, the Bulette cannot use its bite attack. Yeah, how does the like T-Rex phrase that? Because the T-Rex has that. So I'm saying, everybody, plunder your monster wordings from other monsters. And this is under D for dinos. Dinosaurs. Dinosaurs. Boy, I don't know what we're going to do when we get to, like, demons and devils in the podcast. Because, like, how do I cover 12 devils in an episode, you know? Dinosaur. Here we go. Tyrannosaurus. Until this grapple ends, the target is... Yeah, we'll do that. We'll say the target is restrained. Until this grapple ends, the target is restrained. And the Bulette can't bite another target. Cool. There's your action. Let's update the stat block. Looking pretty hot. Love that. And then let's go claws. So this is a melee strength attack. Use preset and then go claws. And I think this is just kind of like a slash. I don't think there's anything fancy going on here. It's got 5-foot reach. And this is just like, I like the idea of, the reason we have it is that if it leaps out and it bites you and then it lands and it can't burrow again, next round when the party moves in, it can claw some people and then it can burrow, right? That it just to give it a little bit of extra oomph. That way it's not spending an entire round just running away. I guess it could disengage and go down if it wanted to. So let's say 3d6 on a claw attack. Is that reasonable? Slashing damage? I'm just totally eyeballing that. That could be completely wrong in terms of how much damage it should do. 25, thank you, buddy. So it's really not reducing the damage that much. But, oh well, a little bit. Oh yeah, we have to add the Deadly Jaws thing. Yep, okay, so that's gotta be in here. Earth Burrow. Deadly Jaws. Let's say that... I think we'll put it under bite. Like, while a creature grappled by the Bulette... A creature grappled by the Bulette takes 1d4 damage for every 5 feet the Bulette burrows while, yeah, I think that's fine. I think the implication is pretty strong there. Not like, yeah, I think that's good. Rather than putting it over. Yeah, I kind of think that's it, folks. So it's got Earth Furrow. Did we miss anything? Redesign Deadly Leap. No. Tunneler feature. Yep. I think we got it. I think that's the Dire Bulette. It's got 17. Let's up that armor class just a little bit. Let's give it 18 armor class. Let's just give it a little bit of extra. A little extra oomph. 172, yep, 20 feet, burrow, 40 feet, earth furrow, standing leap, tunneler. When the Bulette burrows, all creatures within 10 feet must make a DC 16 strength saving throw or be knocked prone. The Bulette's long jump is up to 30 feet, and its high jump is up to 15 feet, with or without a running start. The Bulette can burrow through loose earth at half its burrow speed and leaves an 8-foot diameter tunnel in its wake. If the Bulette burrows at least 20 feet straight towards a creature and surfaces to make a bite attack against it, all creatures within 5 feet of the target must make a DC 16 strength or dexterity saving throw, target's choice, or take 15, 3d6 plus 5 bludgeoning damage, be pushed 10 feet, and be knocked prone. On a successful save. What I like about that is it's the same damage as the claws. So you could say that that's... Oh, it's bludgeoning, I guess. It could be claws. Or be pushed 10 feet and knocked prone. On a successful save, the creature takes only half damage and is pushed 5 feet. If the Bulette hits with the bite attack, it cannot move again until its next turn. The Bulette can make 2 attacks, one with its bite and one with its claws. The target is grappled. Until this grapple ends, the target is restrained, and the Bulette can't bite another target. Let's do this, actually. Let's go into Deadly Leap. And I want to do, if the Bulette hits with its bite attack, it can't move again. If the Bulette misses with its bite attack, well, no, because everyone is pushed 5 feet regardless. So, yeah, we don't actually need to do that. Let's keep that formatting. I think that makes that a little bit more dynamic to read. Yeah. Until its next turn. Oh boy, the typos. The typos. The next turn. There we go. I like monsters like this, you guys. You know, there's not like a whole thing you have to do with like all these different like powers and abilities and whatever, you know. It's just like, it's this monster and it fights and that's what it does. It's not like a Mind Flayer where it's like, okay, how do we account for all this lore? Original Deadly Leap is slashing and bludgeoning, 2 stacks. Ooh, yeah, let's do that. Yeah, good thinking. Okay, so it takes 3d6. Is it the same? Is it the same amount? Yeah, it's the same amount. So we'll do the same. Good call. It'll take 3d6, 15 bludgeoning damage, and 3d6. This would be 15. 3d6 plus 4 slashing damage. Yeah, like this Bulette's maybe not even that mean because it's like the same, right? It's almost the same damage. Should we be upping those? Maybe we should. Maybe this isn't mean enough. Do we do 4d6? 5d6? 5d6 seems pretty heinous. But we are increasing its CR by 3, right? Yeah, so what's 4d6 plus 4 average? 3... 3 point... What's 3, right? No, it's 3.5. 3.5 times 4. God. Math. If it's 4d6, 3.5 times 4... 14. I think it should be 5d6. But it's 2 of them, right? Is that too much? I don't know. I don't know, everybody. This is the thing with it. I would know in 4th edition there would be an answer. So it's 14, so it's 18 damage. If it's 4d6, I believe. Is 46 enough, or do you think it should be more? Yeah, let's go one light. Let's go to 5. Ooh, we can make one die larger. Oh, I see what you're saying. 3d8. Or should we do 5d6? I think it's 5d6. Okay, so 5 then would be 3.5 times 5 is 17 plus 4, 21. 21 damage. So, you know, you could take 40 damage from just that. Ugh. Yeah, 46 is 14. Okay. 21, and then let's go to 5. 5d6. Add action. Yeah, let's see. Maybe I have that wrong. 22. Okay, 22. 22 damage. Maybe that's too much. What do we think? Is 5d6 too much? Oh, shoot. Oh, huh. It didn't save for some reason. Take 2. Yeah, this should be 5d6. And 22. 5d6 plus 5 bludgeoning damage. Add ability. It is each creature. Yeah. Let's do 4. I know we flip-flopped a couple times. I worry that that's too damaging. Let's go back to 4. I know. So it'd be 19 then. Because it's 14 plus 5. 19. Okay. We'll take it easy on our poor player characters. They've got it hard enough, you know, in this economy. Okay, there we go. 19. It has bludgeoning damage twice. Bludgeoning damage and slashing damage. Okay, add ability. There we go. Okay, leave me alone. There you go. That's it. That's the dire Bulette. It's got the bite. 3d12 plus 5. It's grappled. Until this grapple ends, the target is restrained and the Bulette can't bite another target. Creature grappled by the Bulette takes 1d4 damage for every 5 feet the Bulette burrows. So, you know, if it double moves, then you're taking 8d4, which 2.5 times 8 is like 16 damage around without really doing anything. Yeah, that seems rough. That seems like right. Yeah, claws. Okay, cool. All right, everybody. I think that's it. I will get this downloaded. 38 save for 19 on average. Yeah, that's pretty rough. Thanks everybody for coming. That was the Bulette stream. It was lovely to have such a nice and active chat. Thanks everybody for popping in. If you like our content, please, if you're not already, subscribe to our channel. You can click on the red button down below, and you can even click the little bell to get notified when we go live with more videos. All the normal YouTube stuff. You can follow us on Twitter if you don't already. I am at ProDMTimothy. And we're also on Discord. There's a link down there, and we're on Patreon. That's where this monster is going to end up. On, I believe, hopefully on Sunday, but we'll see. I'm so behind on posting those monsters right now. They'll all be up before the end of the month, but it's just a matter of like getting my shit together because of this insomnia that has been plaguing me. But I appreciate everyone coming out and hanging out with me. I would normally send you to my website to ask you to hire me to run a game, but I'm full. I actually don't have any openings right now, so you cannot hire me. I am full. I have no room to run more games. But yeah, we'll be back on Sunday with another stream. We'll be doing a world building stream for my Dwarven campaign, and it's a, I think we're gonna do like a map stream. So I recently made a version of Coom, the Dwarven Kingdom, for my home game, which is visiting the location, but like 1500 years before the campaign that I'm planning to run takes place. But I made a big map, which was cool. Finally kind of finalized my Coom map. So I kind of want to go through it and like world build some of the locations a little bit. Like I have like rough ideas for most of them, but I have a thing where I do whenever I make a new location, I come up with like 3 interesting points about it. So we'll probably be doing a map stream, which would be cool. I can show off this fancy map I made in Incarnate. I spent like a ludicrous amount of time on it several weeks ago. But that'll be on Sunday at 6 p.m. PST, so come check it out. Ooh, elemental variants. That's fun. That could be a cool. I one time did a fire Bulette, a Bulette that like was living in the bowels of a volcano. I think his name was Cindermaw. Yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed that monster. Great. Well, thanks everyone for coming. I will see you on Sunday. Thank you for your patience with the kind of erratic stream schedule this week. But until then, thanks for watching and happy adventuring.